I searched all day, but I couldn't find it in the end. Searching for a living creature is far more difficult than I imagined.
What's up, Oliver?
Oh, Emma, over the last weekend, I went out looking for lizards with my nephew. He said he wanted to keep a lizard he caught by himself at home. So I helped him, but we ended up not finding a single one. I thought lizards were something you'd usually come across and that they'd be easy to catch. So it's a bit disappointing.
Well, when you're specifically targeting and searching for something, it can be hard to find.
I guess that's how it is. But thinking about it that way, biologists are amazing. Natural creatures are supposed to camouflage themselves to match their surroundings or hide in inconspicuous places, yet they can accurately find the creatures they're looking for.
Biologists study living creatures on a daily basis. Since they know the habits of the creatures well, they have a good idea of where they might be, which probably allows them to collect specimens more efficiently than amateurs.
How does knowing the habits of a creature help in finding them?
Since we're on the topic, I'll explain using reptiles as an example. Reptiles like lizards and iguanas have evolved to turn their bodies green or brown to camouflage with the surrounding plants and soil. Therefore, it can be difficult to find them if you just search aimlessly. However, they have a habit of basking in the sun to regulate their body temperature when the temperature is low in the early morning. So biologists efficiently find reptiles by searching for sunny places in the early morning.
Lizards bask in the sun in well-lit places in the morning to efficiently warm their cold bodies from the night, I see. Indeed, just figuring out their usual spots makes them considerably easier to find.
Yes, indeed. Also, biologists not only look for creatures based on their habits, but they also utilize the unique characteristics that creatures possess.
What kind of unique feature are we talking about?
A famous example is that of the scorpion. It is known that a scorpion's body fluoresces under ultraviolet light. Scorpions are usually nocturnal, so their activities are often conducted at night, but since their body color is subdued, it's difficult to find them by just searching normally. Therefore, entomologists use a black light that emits ultraviolet light to make scorpions glow, and they conduct their fieldwork efficiently.
I think this is the first time I've heard that scorpion bodies glow under ultraviolet light. I'm amazed that they possess such interesting characteristics.
Well, both scorpions and black lights are far removed from daily life, so it's less likely you'd hear about these things.
Maybe you're right, but why do scorpions glow when exposed to ultraviolet light? Moonlight also contains ultraviolet rays, so they should glow at night too. Generally, it seems more beneficial for creatures not to stand out. So why would scorpions evolve to have bodies that glow at night?
Various theories have been proposed about why scorpions glow under ultraviolet light, but recently, an unexpected theory has started to gain attention. And that theory, not just being sensational, is considered to have high credibility, and it's garnering attention from scorpion researchers.
Sounds like an interesting story. I'm curious. Could you explain it in more detail?
Sure, I can. So this time, I will explain why scorpions glow under ultraviolet light.
I'm looking forward to it.
You may think of scorpions as creatures living in deserts or tropical rainforests, but in fact they inhabit a wide range of environments such as forests, coasts, and mountainous areas. And regardless of their habitats, it has been confirmed that almost all scorpions fluoresce under ultraviolet light.
Scorpions have adapted to various environments and have evolved in many ways. But what is common to almost all of these diverse scorpions is that they glow under ultraviolet light.
That's right. Scorpions, because of their fierce appearance and the fact that they have venom, are sometimes perceived as being voraciously predatory and very active. However, scorpions can actually survive on a small amount of food, so they typically spend more time hiding and remaining still.
So, scorpions can get enough food just by hunting occasionally, meaning they primarily protect themselves from predators by staying still.
That's right. In other words, for scorpions, the importance of hiding is significant. But contrary to that, because a scorpion's body glows under UV light, many theories have been proposed among scholars as to why they would evolve to make it easier for their natural enemies to find them.
When something glows, it's like signaling its location. That's why various theories were born about why scorpions, which should value hiding, glow under UV light.
Yes. Among those, there was once a theory considered most plausible, suggesting that the fluorescence was to attract insects that serve as prey. Scorpions are mainly active at night, and many nocturnal insects are known to be attracted to light. Therefore, it was thought that scorpions were making their bodies glow using the UV light emitted by the moon to make hunting more efficient.
Seeing bugs gathering around streetlights and such is a common sight, isn't it?
Yes. Researchers then conducted an experiment to see if the glow caused by UV light actually attracts insects. First, they prepared several scorpion carcasses, all nearly identical in size, and divided them into two groups. One group was covered with a substance that blocked UV light.
So they made two groups of scorpions, one that glows under UV light and one that doesn't. But why did they use scorpion carcasses instead of living scorpions?
They probably wanted to eliminate any variables other than the glow as much as possible. For instance, if the scorpions were moving around, the insects might get scared and flee.
They want to verify if the glow attracts insects, so they'd want to keep all other conditions the same.
Yes, then they attached sticky tape beneath each of the scorpion carcasses and left them outdoors. They compared the number of insects caught on the tape.
They trapped the insects approaching the scorpions with a sticky tape trap to check how many insects were drawn to them.
Exactly. And the results were, on a new moon night, when no UV light is emitted, both groups caught about the same number of insects. But on a full moon night, when there is abundant UV light, the group that glowed caught fewer insects. Thus, although it was once believed that the scorpions used UV light to glow and attract insects, this experiment showed that the fluorescence from UV light doesn't attract insects, but rather seems to repel them.
When it comes to hunting, emitting light is not only unhelpful, but it can actually be a hindrance. But why would insects avoid the light emitted by a scorpion? I wonder. Nocturnal insects usually have a tendency to be attracted to light.
One reason insects may not be attracted to it is that nocturnal insects react particularly strongly to ultraviolet light. The reason insects flock to the lights in a night city isn't just because the lights are bright, but it has more to do with being attracted to the ultraviolet light emitted from those lights. Therefore, even if a scorpion glows, the ultraviolet light that attracts nocturnal insects is absorbed and converted into less appealing fluorescence, which is not very effective in attracting prey. In fact, it's known that insects are less attracted to LED lights, which emit less ultraviolet light.
So, it's not just about the brightness, but whether ultraviolet light is included that's important. Sure enough, the lights used in traps to lure and exterminate insects with electric shocks were ultraviolet lights. Just glowing doesn't seem to have much of a purpose, I feel.
Exactly. Furthermore, the fact that the body is glowing means it can be easily spotted by the prey, which could make them cautious and hesitant to approach.
Sure enough, if there's a scary-looking insect that looks like it's going to attack, I'd naturally want to run away.
Yeah, to sum up, in terms of catching flying insects, glowing with ultraviolet light not only fails to attract insect prey, but also increases the chance of being noticed and thus escaped from, which is more of a disadvantage.
When I hear about glowing to lure insects, it sounds plausible, but in reality, it's counterproductive, isn't it?
Exactly. However, this implies that there must be significant benefits that can offset the disadvantage of lowering the success rate of hunting by glowing. If there weren't any benefits, they wouldn't bother to glow. Scientists have thought of several possible reasons why scorpions glow. One is that it's used for communication between scorpions. Scorpions have inconspicuous colors and protect themselves from predators by hiding in the shadows, which conversely makes it harder for their own kind, such as potential mates, to find them. So it's thought that scorpions might glow to indicate their location to their peers when they want to be found.
Even if they're not attacked by predators, they won't be able to leave offspring if they don't mate, so they may be taking a risk in glowing to communicate their location.
Yeah, but even without glowing, they could communicate their location to their peers without alerting predators using pheromones, for example. And considering that they tend not to roam around on nights with strong ultraviolet radiation unless something serious happens, there are many questionable points about this theory.
Indeed, most creatures that typically stay hidden do not glow under ultraviolet light. There should be many safer methods than glowing, right?
That's right. Another theory as to why scorpions glow suggests it's to absorb ultraviolet light. Owls, a natural predator of scorpions, are capable of seeing ultraviolet light. So the theory goes that by converting ultraviolet light into another kind of light, they might be harder for their predators to spot. However, this theory is less credible as the probability of being attacked by other predators could increase to protect themselves from a specific set of predators. Thus, overall, the cost-benefit analysis might lean towards a negative impact.
Not all creatures that prey on scorpions can see ultraviolet light, so absorbing ultraviolet light and converting it into a color of light visible to ordinary creatures seems to have more disadvantages.
Yes. Besides, if they wanted to absorb ultraviolet light, they could use non-fluorescent substances like melanin. Indeed, melanin is a substance used not just in humans but across a wide range of species, including insects, so it's not like scorpions can't produce melanin.
So there's no need to use a glowing substance if it's to protect from predators that can see ultraviolet light.
Exactly. Also, considering the aspect of UV protection, there exists a theory that the substance created to protect from the harm of ultraviolet rays continues to persist. Ultraviolet rays carry more energy than the light we can see, and if they reach directly into the cells, they can cause damage, such as DNA damage. So, a substance that absorbs ultraviolet light and converts it into a harmless color of light could be beneficial for protection.
So the substance created to protect from ultraviolet rays just happens to have the property of glowing. But I have one question. Scorpions are nocturnal, right? Ultraviolet light is also contained in the moonlight, but that's merely the reflection of sunlight, so I don't think the intensity of ultraviolet light is much of a concern. So it feels a bit odd to develop a special substance just to deal with a small amount of ultraviolet light.
That's a good question, Oliver. You're right. Current scorpions have a low need for ultraviolet protection. However, the ancestors of scorpions may have had a high need for UV protection.
What does that mean?
Let me explain in order. Oliver, have you ever heard of the term ozone hole?
Yes. It's the phenomenon where the ozone layer, which reflects ultraviolet rays, gets holes due to human activity, right? When an ozone hole occurs, ultraviolet rays pour down intensely. So without sunburn protection, you might get burned by the intense light or become prone to cancer.
Exactly. Aquatic creatures can have some of the ultraviolet light absorbed by the water, but for terrestrial creatures who get UV light directly, the ozone layer is as good as essential. However, long before the birth of humans, there was a period when the ozone layer was much thinner than the ozone hole.
Wait, I thought the ozone layer was always thick until humans started emitting chlorofluorocarbons. Why was there a period when the ozone layer was thin?
You can understand this by thinking about how the ozone layer forms. Ozone is produced when intense ultraviolet light strikes oxygen molecules, and therefore, if there's no oxygen in the air, ozone can't form. Originally, Earth's atmosphere didn't contain much oxygen, and the presence of oxygen is mainly due to photosynthesis by cyanobacteria and plants. In other words, until photosynthesis became active and oxygen reached the same level as it is now, the ozone layer would have been quite thin.
So you're saying when there was less oxygen, which is a raw material for ozone, the ozone layer was also thinner?
Yes, and during that time, the ancestors of scorpions who migrated to land needed to take strong measures against ultraviolet light. As a remnant of that, scorpions might possess a substance that absorbs ultraviolet light.
So even though the need might be diminished now, the substance for ultraviolet protection, which was once crucial, might still be present.
Exactly, but there are some problems with this theory.
What kind of problems?
For example, there's the point that ultraviolet protection doesn't necessarily require a fluorescent substance, and also as organisms evolve, they tend to lose unnecessary traits. So it's unnatural for a substance for ultraviolet protection, which is unnecessary now, to continue to exist just because it's a remnant.
I see. I've heard that the concentration has been the same as it is now for hundreds of millions of years, and over such a long period, it feels natural to think that unnecessary traits would be whittled away.
Exactly. So, to summarize our discussion so far, there have been several theories suggested for why scorpions glow. These include luring prey, communicating with fellow scorpions, hiding from predators that see ultraviolet light, and a leftover trait from the strong UV protections of their ancestors. While many theories have been proposed, each one seems to have some credibility issues. Nevertheless, in recent years, a seemingly paradoxical and initially hard to accept theory has been gaining attention. This theory suggests that scorpions glow to better hide from their predators.
What do you mean by that? When something glows, it should stand out more, making it easier for predators to find, shouldn't it? I don't understand at all.
Let me explain step by step. As we briefly discussed earlier, entomologists have been using black lights, which emit UV light, to find scorpions because in the dark, a scorpion that has been exposed to ultraviolet light would emit a glow that stands out, making it easier to find.
In the darkness of the night, it's easier to find scorpions because the light they emit when exposed to UV rays stands out.
Yes, but if you look at it from another perspective without using a black light to shine intense UV light, the scorpion would not emit a strong fluorescence that's visible from afar. In other words, even though scorpions fluoresce, they do not emit a strong light with just the amount of UV light from moonlight. Hence, the chances of them being discovered by their predators should not significantly change.
I see. If they glowed brightly enough to stand out in moonlight, there would be no need to use black light. And I heard there are creatures that use UV light for hunting. This could actually be a useful feature against such predators.
That's right. But then, why would scorpions go to the trouble of emitting a weak light that doesn't reach far? In a nutshell, it's believed that they use the amount of fluorescence they emit to check whether they are effectively concealed in the dark.
So, they're not glowing to show light to others, but for their own sake.
Yes. As I mentioned earlier, scorpions can survive on a small amount of food, so they have evolved primarily to hide themselves in dark places as much as possible. In fact, scorpions tend to seek refuge in the shadows, even if it's just the shadow of a single blade of grass if they can't find a better hiding place. So, they are extremely wary of being discovered by predators.
That means they consider being found by predators to be quite dangerous.
Yes. And it is thought that the fluorescence emitted from their bodies is useful for verifying whether they are effectively concealed in the shadows. Essentially, if their bodies are not well hidden and are heavily exposed to moonlight, they will emit stronger fluorescence. Conversely, if they are, well, hidden, the amount of light they emit decreases. So, they use the amount of light they emit to confirm whether they are successfully hiding in the shadows.
So, scorpions glow in response to UV light to objectively determine through the amount of light they emit whether they are adequately hidden. That's a fascinating reverse way of thinking. They evolved to glow to better hide.
I completely agree.
But there's something I'm wondering about. If a body emits light, wouldn't it be unseen by the eyes? For instance, if a scorpion's eyes protruded like snails, it could see the fluorescence emitted from its whole body. But since the eyes are in a normal position, no matter how much the body lights up, isn't it impossible to confirm the amount of light by itself?
Sharp observation, Oliver. Indeed, as you pointed out, the fluorescence emitted from a scorpion's whole body is not easily captured by the scorpion's own eyes. However, scorpions have cells that sense light not only in their eyes, but also at the tips of their tails.
Wait, can scorpions sense light with their tails too?
Yes, they can. Of course, there isn't a lens like in the eyes, so they can't see the surroundings as an image, but they can detect how strong the light is. Therefore, the cells in the tail can measure the amount of fluorescence emitted from the whole body and determine if the body is well hidden. In fact, experiments have shown that even scorpions blinded can still try to hide in places with as little ultraviolet light as possible.
So, scorpions have organs in their tails separate from their eyes to confirm whether their bodies are well hidden.
Precisely. As you see, the reasons for evolution in organisms can't be reduced to a single factor, and they may overlap. Therefore, when researching organisms, we need to analyze from various perspectives,
not only relying on one's field of expertise, but also referring to opinions from scholars in other fields and greedily accumulating various knowledge is required.
Exactly. Well, I think this is a good place to stop for now. Thanks for staying with us till the end. I discuss interesting science topics like this, so feel free to drop by anytime. Your subscription and likes really motivate me, so thank you for watching. See you again soon.